When I think of drag, I think clowns, but not in like that creepy, scary, nightmarish way. I think of just, like Frosty was saying, love and light and acceptance. And I mean, some of my closest friends are the queens who spoke today and have been probably the greatest influence on her as she's grown up. A lot of them knew her since she was this tall, and are wonderful role models and really great people. They'll read you to filth if you give them the opportunity, but that's usually steeped in truth and love as well. They're just amazing people.
I picture when I was younger and we were in Albany, and one of the drag queens, was her name Dakota or Azraya?
Azraya's her performance.
Azraya, and she was holding me up on her shoulders, and I was cheering and chanting along with everyone else, and that's one of the main memories I have.
Well, I was born and raised in the village, so I grew up amongst the freedom of spirit, and I guess I have the show business joie de vivre. But for those people that didn't grow up here, I can observe that just the first time in a drag bar or at a drag show, they just open up and they just adore it, no matter from where they seem to be from. It's fun watching someone experience it for the first time.
So then, do you want to pick me up at my house then? Is that okay? And then I can paint it home, and then I'll come stay at your place. So logistically, I'll bring my backpack with all my dragon shit. I'll have a floor-length leopard print, like neon pink and yellow.
Fierce. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
You're fine.
And then why don't you come with me to Phoenix for like 2 seconds?
I have to go to the Viva thing.
Yeah, but Viva doesn't even open until 11.
11 o'clock, yeah. Fierce, I'll just come with you.
And then I'll get you plastered, and I'm posting there on like.
And then I'll be in right form on 11. There she is in true form. Work Boy, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, and then I get to go see Nina Flowers after. Oh, that'll be fun.
She's spinning on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, this is becoming a fantasy weekend.
Just pack to stay the night Friday night after Bushwood. We'll go to my house. We'll eat back.
Yeah, and then we can know.
Oh, you're on.
You know how hard I'm working on my
girl. Really?
You see this?
Well, I did go and get you. I went and got healthy girl things.
Really not.
I went and got healthy girl things today.
Feel this. Feel this.
Yeah.
I'm like really not fucking around. I'm pressing 280 right now.
You're lifting?
I'm lifting. I want to literally when I come.
He's everything.
Come on, underwears.
And guess what it is?
It's Marco.
I'm cheating.
Oh.
Can I watch you change?
Oh shit!
I'm sitting right now.
Here, can you get a picture of me?
Yeah. He was
Ray.
Oh.
I'm so excited! All right, I'll see you down there. Yeah. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, you may not be willing to admit it, but we all know here at KDKA-TV that you're not tuned in to see Dan Marino and Phil, whatever his name was, music. You're looking for Doris. Let's bring on Doris Fish, drag queen, and make her welcome to Pittsburgh today. Let's dance. Hi, John. No, let's don't. Thank you. Thank you, Doris. I don't know what to say about you, dear. Let me ask you, let me start by saying how long it takes you to get this way.
Years of practice. But I suppose in a day it would take me at least 2 hours to get ready. That's if I know what I'm going to do, and I have a good idea of what I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
If I don't know what I'm going to wear, it just takes days hunting through things, trying to decide.
Have you got a lot to choose from? I mean...
Oh, I have a room, not quite as big as this room, but I have a large room with racks hanging from the ceiling, boxes on the floor, wardrobes spewing forth beautiful costumes and gowns. Oh, just all over the place, wardrobes with shoes.
How many?
Shoes? Well, Well, not all of them fit me. Aren't these a lovely pair?
Yes, quite.
I've got about 200 or 300 pairs.
You didn't walk over here from the Hilton looking like this, did you? Did you come? There's another
Well,
gown
I did look a
lady.
little better then because I was a little younger. There was a few minutes ago.
Did you get some looks? Seriously.
Yeah, I always get a few looks.
Is that why you do it, Doris?
Yes, I'm afraid I do have a pathological need for attention. And I get it.
What do people say to you? What's the most outrageous comment you've ever gotten?
Oh, my goodness, I don't think I can remember anything fabulously outrageous. Oh, I remember some little children on the street saying, "Are you a man?" And I'd just say, "Oh, not tonight, darling."
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Growing up in Massachusetts, like, they like to pretend that they're super liberal, but the actual people aren't, or they weren't at the time, very liberal.
There used to be like mesh material over on this side. Do you have like the thicker? It's almost like a sports material.
I used to like come home with like bruises all over. Like, it was bad. Growing up in Massachusetts was not fun.
Here? On the left or the right?
Things didn't start to change until I started like defending myself and starting being a bitch in school. Because it's like, there's a point where you like, after all the harassment, that you just stop giving a fuck. You know what I mean?
Dude, can you show me? Ugh, I fucking hate him.
I have always been like an artist, like a visual person, like ever since I was really, really little. And then my mom showed me how to put on my eyeliner when I was 13 before she went to work one day. And I kind of like ran with it because I was this angsty Manson kid, like all goth and upset about everything. And so I'd be that queer in homeroom putting on his pure white pressed powder compact from Hot Topic and being like all upset with everybody. But like thinking back at like how much violence I had to endure in high school, I kind of had good reason to be pissed about everything. If I knew then what I know now, things would be very, very different.
Hello? You're on the corner.
I'm coming downstairs right now. I'm half in drag, so give me a second. Hold on. You'll see me as soon as I rear my ugly head out the door. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. All right, where are you?
There you are. Hurry up.
Massachusetts, I mean, while it is, you know, where I grew up, I don't really, I hate to say this, I don't hold a whole lot of love for the state. I consider New York City my home. Like, it just is what it is. I mean, I was literally voted most likely to never come back in my yearbook because I said every single day, you will never see me again. And isn't it cute? This is my bedroom over here. The bathroom's over there. Kitchen, living space. If you need to pee or anything, bathroom's right down that hallway. Whatever.
So what are we?
So we're gonna do like maybe like, I don't know, like sexy modern punk rock.
Okay.
Kind of a feel. So I really want to wear the skirt though, so I'm going to. And then I ripped up my fishnets.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna use the big red hair.
Okay.
Because she's fucking crazy looking. The first time I did drag was, of course, for Halloween. Like seriously. And I did it at Divas, and it was for this show called Drag Wars. I was so awful. And I did it to Britney's Piece of Me, and they made us change our number because there were 13 girls, and they made us, I had this big mix planned. I had like dancers, I had set pieces, I had like all this shit ready, and they're like a 7-minute mix, and they come back and they're like, it has to be 3 minutes. I was pissed. I was so upset because I wanted my first time to be epic, even though I looked god awful. And I can show you a picture, it's so terrible. But I ended up tearing off my shirt at one point, and ended up ripping off all of my nails every time she said, "You want a piece of me?" and throwing it at the audience. It was really disgusting and funny for me, but terrifying for everyone else. And that was actually the first time Pussy had ever seen me perform, and she was like, "You're a fucking psycho." And that was that. And my drag name was Apocalypse at the time. Lips. I thought I was really clever. So, awful, 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 awful.
What time is it? What time is it? That's what time it is. All right, you guys are fierce. We've got $3 drinks at the bar. Just to let you know, both your bartenders are single. Alert. And I want to let you know, if you don't tip a drag queen when she performs, I will eat you. I'm hungry as fuck and I'm on a diet. You are gonna die. So if you like what you see, tip a drag queen. Everybody in the house, make some noise right now for Maddelynn Hatter.
I was relentlessly seeking out gigs when we first got here. Like, relentless. Like, I was, like, gun-ho. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, I came here with a mission, and I did it. I'm not finished, because my mission now is to go global. Like, I want to be performing all over the world. And I will. I will. I'm not... I'm a little crazy about it.
Hi.
Come on.
Hi.
It's your Twitter.
I'm sorry. What do I do? What do I do? She's yelling at me.
Okay, wait. I have to go to her Periscope now and find it and then share it. We're here at The Real Deal. This is my first night here in New York. And Maddie totally graciously hired me here.
Gracious.
And we're gonna have a really good time.
But I love you.
Let's really go on up here, y'all.
We're not gonna cry.
Oh, yes! Love it.
Oh, that's Chaka. Chaka, you're live. Say hi.
Oh, hi. I was about to carry you, but I'm not gonna do it on your Periscope or Kaleidoscope or whatever you're probably using.
Periscope.
Thought so. Awesome. You know we don't have Wi-Fi, right? So you're using your minutes right now. I know you're nervous.
But I pay for unlimited.
You're on T-Mobile?
No, I'm
Call her on the 4th of the month and see if that phone is
Give
working.
me a special plan.
And these are fun.
How much do you pay for these?
500 piece for $12.80.
Shut up! Can you please send me the link?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
The internet. Thanks, babe. Yeah, just walk up to Scott Jones and
I did already, and he wasn't very welcoming, so I'm waiting until the queen he knows comes with me.
Oh, he's just a bitch.
Yeah, I went to when I said hi.
Oh my goodness! Thanks
He's
for noise
crazy.
with Maddelynn Hatter.
Sorry, I love you.
Now here's how we start the show. Are you paying attention? Look really carefully. It's a plus-size fashion show. This is it. Wow. I was raised in pretty much a trailer park outside of Baltimore. Every one of my family members is sort of like a degenerate on society. I'm first-generation college student. My uncle's biggest claim to fame was that he was on some cop show that was before Cops, so it was rough. But yeah, then I went to Towson University and graduated with honors. And lived in Baltimore for a couple of years after that. And then I moved to New York about 8 years ago. So when I was in Baltimore, I competed in a lot of pageants, went to Miss Gay America, really enjoyed it, but it was really stifling. And my drag name is Chaka Khanvict, and nobody got it. They'd always ask me dumb questions like, well, you're white. Like, yeah, no shit, I know I'm white. It's a funny joke. My original drag name, I was thinking about doing Aretha Frankfurter. Very few people have that Madonna story where I moved to New York with $40 in my pocket and a dream. I had it all planned out. I had talked to some nightclubs already, and I had started selling Jell-O shots in Baltimore. So I kind of knew that was like a really great way to make coin. Real New Yorkers, I feel like, have a New York mentality, whether they're a drag queen or not. I've always been a cutting queen. And that comes from just having to, growing up the fat kid and growing up the fag. At the trailer park, it's not like the coolest thing to be the fat gay kid. So you have to develop like a reptilian-like skin to, deal with all the BS, which kind of is perfect when you move to New York because then you already have those like survival skills. I just can't keep quiet.
I'd like to bring to your attention one more time my tits. So good, and I'm like, it's a super high caloric intake diet. Thank you.
Well, the Ritz Real Deal, it's myself and 3 other girls. They all perform, I host the show, and sell Jell-O shots. We're there to make everyone's time in New York City or at the Ritz awesome. And that's a great job.
Oh my God, the Ritz is everything. The Ritz is home. That's like home base. Like, like Drag Race, like if you get on, you're like, oh, blah, 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 what's your home base? Like, I would list the Ritz. Like, the Ritz has been, like, the thing that has, like, the place that's become, like, a safe haven and, like, a place to learn and grow because I'm just surrounded by so much talent there. Like, I've learned more how to dance in the year working at the Ritz than I have in my entire life, like just in a year's time. I've been able to, like now that I'm like traveling and shit like that, like I take what I do from the Real Deal with me. You know what I mean? Like it's really hard to not walk away a stronger performer when you're surrounded by those kinds of people.
I mean, I've been there for 7 years. I literally walked into the Ritz and said, hey guys, this is my favorite place to come to when I visit New York City. I'd like to sell Jell-O shots here. Would that be okay? I've been there for 7 years. We are a family there, and we look out for each other really, really quite a lot, and it's awesome.
My first legitimate gig was actually Bianca Del Rio referred myself and Maddelynn to the Ritz to hire us for Real Deal Wednesdays, which has been going on for over a year, and it's the best fucking party in the city, I think. Oh, on a Wednesday night. I kind of fell into it almost. Like, when I started going out, it was probably a year after I had moved here. And I don't know, me and Maddelynn would go out all the time, and I again just did it for fun because I was doing the Mac thing and I was happy just, being a makeup artist and building with that. But then as I started going out more, I kind of just like fell in love with nightlife and fell in love with drag, and I kind of just, it wasn't till like a year after that year was when I was like, I'm gonna stop working a real job and go straight into nightlife. I never when I came into the scene, I didn't really take it that serious. Like everybody kind of just started remembering as the fun drunk party girl that everybody would hang out with at parties. And I don't know, I kind of came in with a signature with my big, I started with really big hair and always rocked big, nasty, teased up hair. So I feel like a lot of it, my signature kind of is what put me there, and then people would just remember me at parties, and then people decided that they actually liked being around me, and then people started booking me. Like, at first, I would go along with the, oh, I'm a makeup artist, blah, blah. I also, like, do drag on my spare time, blah, blah. But now I rarely ever do freelance makeup, and drag's consumed everything. So before it was kind of, I wasn't comfortable with just being, like, a drag queen, because I always thought people just, like, wouldn't take it that serious, or they just wouldn't get it. And then I'd have to sit there and, like, try to explain myself. But now I look at myself as more of an entertainer rather than just a drag queen. I mean, I always joke around, I'm just a fancy clown, really. Which is what, drag is. We're just fancy clowns. But now it's more legit because I've turned it into more of a business rather than just, like, me going out and, like, getting drunk and having fun at parties. I take this very serious. Kind of, not really.
A minute ago I asked you, are you always on? Are you always performing?
Well, no, I go through a stage where I put on the costume and the makeup and I change personality and I become much more self-confident, much more flamboyant. When I'm without my costume and makeup, I just fade into the background completely, and I like that. I like to have the two lives going at once.
When you fade into the background, you're a man?
Yes.
Now, are you a woman right now?
Yes.
Now, come on now, you're a man.
No, I'm a woman today.
How? Now that's... You know what? If we were buck naked, we'd look just alike. And that's
I'm
why...
probably in better shape.
That's why, you...
See, I work out.
You may well be, but my point is you're a man, period, right? Zip.
Biologically, I am a male, yes. That is, biologically and medically, I would be classified as a male. Emotionally, I'm somewhere in between. And my personality, if you take your personality away from your physical body, what gender is your personality?
Yeah.
Some people naturally say their personality is the same gender as their body. I don't believe that my personality is exactly the same gender as my physical body. So therefore...
Drag is my creative outlet. I may not be on a Broadway stage yet, but every day I'm getting into makeup, I'm becoming a different character. I can do whatever I want with Jada. There's no limit to what I can do. And there will always be a spotlight, and there will always be music. So this suffices until I book that Broadway contract. The more that I keep that in mind, that's the main thing that keeps me going some days, because there are some days I wake up and I go, are you kidding me? And then I realize, okay, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. You gotta wait.
You tried it. That was cute, actually.
Always a wonderful performance. Always.
Thank you.
Always.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That was actually like that could have gone really bad. I'm glad your friends came. By the way, I totally have relations with that boy.
Which one?
The light-skinned one with the pointy ears.
The light-skinned one?
Yeah.
Chuck, he would have told me that by now. Believe me.
I mean, he met me as Philip, and we just did it on my kitchen table, so it's not like he knew I did drag.
I mean, they're actually downstairs waiting for me, which means I need to get my shit together right now.
No, I love him. I have such a crush on him.
Everybody has a crush on Andre. Andre is one of the sweetest fucking people you will meet. When I say I literally got along with two people from that cast, him and Marisha, the girl that I went to go see the
Marisha?
Marisha Wallace. She is the force to be fucking reckoned with, like, for real.
Jada brought something out in me that I probably would have let lie dormant for quite some time. Contrary to popular belief, I used to be the nice one. I used to be the one to let people take advantage of me. Which is also where Jada comes into play, because she taught me how to say no. If you want something, you gotta go take it. And Jada helped me do that. Not a lot of people will ever have the kind of outlet that I have because they're too afraid to do it. And I mean, I've been mugged and dragged before, here in New York City. But you can either choose to let it stop you, or you can build on it. Ooh.
That's the look. When you grow up in Kansas City, Missouri, I had 3 strikes against me. I was gay, I was black, and I was a male. And it was not exactly a walk in the park every single day. But I knew there was one place I could always go to, and that was the theater.
The first thing is always the makeup, I feel like. But though, the first thing for me was, I mean, like, learning the makeup is part of it, but knowing who you are, if that makes, or who you're trying to be, like, who, like, you can't just paint your face pretty. There's, like, you have to know the makeup, you have to get your clothes right, you have to be able to perform on a stage. There's that weird, like, intangible charm you have to have. You can't just, like, stand around. You need to have, like, there has to be a reason why someone's looking at you. You have to learn how to walk in heels, my god. But, like, the personality aspect of, like, having your character down, that is a thing that I think a lot of people overlook or don't put enough stock in. And I think the best queens have all of the technical stuff, and then on top of it, have, like, that extra something, that personality, that, like, character.
This poor woman, her short-term memory is a write-off. Did I say you're a lovely-looking woman? I was mistaken, Olive, I was. No. From this angle, you are indeed lovely. And yet... I won't use the word hideous, I won't. But we've all got a good side and a bad side, haven't we, Olive? We're not symmetrical. I've got a good side and a superb side, as a matter of fact. But you're a chameleon, Olive. Do you know what a chameleon is? It's a reptile, but it's a...
I woke up in a cow pasture outside of town. Ooh, there was a bull chasing me. I was tired, so I ran. To a fence, I jumped over. There was an old farmer who said, "Hey there, lady, what's the matter? Can't you take it?" I said, "Honey, I could take it. But what would I do with a calf in a 3-room apartment?"
I'm so scared to do stand-up as Philip. That's a fear I have. Not so much in drag, but I am petrified to do stand-up as Philip. And it's funny because I act the exact same way in and out of drag, I think.
Big old titties, oh, give it a shot. All right, girl. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Loft Party. How y'all feeling? Let me hear you make some noise.
Well, I don't have all my protective gear. It's a safety in the sense of, like, you know, if I get heckled, I've really only ever been heckled in drag. So I've, like, no one's ever, because I've never, you know, really performed as Philip.
When you have a microphone, you need to respect what you say, because a lot of people hear you, and you know what? You might have a lot of talent, but you just disrespected a whole community, man.
Honey, it's a comedy show. Stop taking it up the ass. Listen. What's your name?
The Latino community pays your bills, baby.
I wish, you know what I wish? The Latino community would pay their own fucking bills. Bitch, I'm gonna tell you this. 2 things happened just now. You think you're telling me a story? I know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm a man in a wig who's done this for 18 years. Let me tell you this. Yes, I have a microphone now. And I know you have a microphone tomorrow when you run in that drive-thru. What I want you to know is that if I want your bullshit, I'll drive to your motherfucking window, queen. So don't come up here and place your order with me. You want me to piss you off worse? Selena is dead.
The stand-up community in New York City, can't handle a drag queen stand-up. And it's funny to me because so many stand-ups like separate themselves. There was even this gay stand-up night, and they said no drag allowed. And I'm thinking to myself, these drag queens, look at Shaquita, Sherry Vine, Bianca Del Rio. They have hour-long shows that are pretty much stand-up shows. And these comedians are doing 5 minutes on stage, and they're like, oh, no, well, we're the real stand-ups, you know what I mean? Because drag queens are funnier than guys. You just see some guy on stage in a flannel shirt that's untucked and kind of, and he's bitching about what? Being good-looking? Dane Cook. You know? I mean, that's not funny. That's not interesting, but you have a drag queen with a little pizzazz and a little show. Even if you don't necessarily like every one of her jokes, you can at least look at the earrings and be like, well, that's sparkly, you know? I think that drag queens, as opposed to maybe always writing material and something, we can rely on audience participation and funny things like that. That's a little bit different than the regular stand-up genre. But to say that those drag performers aren't comedians is a farce.
Amy sang a song about pussy outside. Sorry, vagina. And I was like, it is dirty. But she encouraged me to do a song about my vagina, which I just got on Groupon the other day. I just had it installed this morning. And it's open for service.
I feel like when you're at a stand-up venue, you tend to be appreciated a little bit more by the audiences. I've learned this doing drag too. You really appreciate about who pays for you. In New York City, the shows are free, so the audience doesn't pay for them. But the bar is paying. So the bar really appreciates you because they're the ones paying for you. I did a show in Philly where the bar doesn't pay you. You make money out the door, and the audience pays. And like they were the most attentive audience I had in a long time because they all paid and we all had every intention of being there for the sole purpose of seeing this show, you know? In New York City, sometimes a show just happens to you. You're like, oh, a show happened to me. I was trying to enjoy my night out with my friends, and then a drag show happened to me. And I'm like, well, how lucky are you that a drag show happened to you?
Right now, just to let you guys know, we're filming for my RuPaul Drag Race audition tape. Season 19 is my year! Season 19 is my year! I feel it! I'm just getting ahead of the game.
I think it's interesting because we say the things that people are thinking, but they don't say. Or, I mean, could you imagine if some of the stuff I say, a really good-looking buff guy says, he's just considered a jerk then. But if the fat drag queen with big goofy hair and big bright pink lips and big old lashes says it, then that's just camp.
I never looked at myself as a performer because my whole thing with drag was like mainly just the aesthetic and like the looks and everything. But trying to become really popular in nightlife, you kind of have to do everything. So you learn how to, you kind of like force yourself into playing every role, like hosting or turning looks, performing, microphone. You kind of have to do it all.
There's no rules to this, and I don't have to be pretty to be a drag queen, and I don't have to be crazy to be a drag queen, and I don't have to do one thing or the other. I think the versatility and the glamour and the fact that you can change yourself into a monster or a goddess or just all of it. Like you could dance your ass off, and you can learn so many different skills that can lend itself to like every day. Cause like I can take this and be a makeup artist. I can take this and be, I can make wigs for a living. I can make dresses for a living. I can do photography, graphic design, and it's all shit that I've learned from drag.
What started off as a hobby turned into a job. And I'm so blessed and thankful for it because there were plenty of hard times where I would be looking for an actual job. But I'm like, how am I going to pay this bill? A gig would pop up. And I'm like, yes. So I've never been, it wasn't until I started doing drag that I actually felt stable for what that's worth, because drag is not stable. If you're new to the scene, you never know where your next gig's coming from, or if you have your weekly night party, you don't know when it's going to end. They can come in and be like, you're not making enough money. Your party's done. It's actually happened to me once before. And I was actually in Florida for a friend's birthday when I got the message saying, yeah, so the party's canceled, blah, 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 blah. I was like, and it was no skin off my nose because it was a Wednesday night. I was like, oh, great, an extra $100 so I could do the party here and then I can just go to the Real Deal. But then the promoter went so far as to try to blame me and throw me under the bus as to why the party ended. It was almost like a slap in the face. And there are underlying reasons as to why I think he tried to throw me under the bus about it. But I ain't gonna put his shit on blast like that. Because, in the words of Kelly Rowland in Survivor, my mama taught me better than that.
Sounds like my last date. Make some noise for my co-host, Jada Balenciaga. And we got a dirty show at 2:30 tonight. Are y'all with us?
I learned a lot of valuable performance skills working in a bar because you have to learn how to work with people that are not always necessarily paying attention. And you have to, that's how I developed my comedic talents. Because you're working with drunks and they're like working with autistic children. You know, it's like you have to keep their attention or they're gonna bite you at some point. Really, you gotta do something with them. And if you can wrangle these drunken fags in a room to be on your side, and you take those skills, you bring them to the mainstream, everything's a piece of cake.
Give it up, thank you. Give it up for Lisette, ladies and gentlemen. Happy birthday. Is this your first drag show? No, all right, good. Not that I'm a drag. Okay. Now, so ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm the nice one. Pushing it. All right, okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do a brand new parody. Tonight is the premiere. I've never done it before. I've just wrote it, been working on it. It's a parody of Ariana Grande's song, Break Free. Do you all know that song? Hello? Okay. Stay with me. Stay with me. I know it's not YouTube. It's a real show.
If the audience, it's clicks and they're laughing and applauding and listening, because these days that's such a hard feat. If they're looking at you and not their phone and they're responding and they're listening, then that's when I leave the stage. Like, I don't even care about the money. This is just like, this is why I do what I do.
I feel like people don't, the biggest problem that it's tougher, I feel like people don't know how to be audience members anymore. Not just tipping, but like really knowing how to, like, just, there's a politeness that goes in, there's a give and take with energy that goes in, somebody's doing something on stage, pay attention, you know, like don't try to talk over the music that's on the stage, you know, things like that. And just kind of knowing how that there's an energy coming at you and then you're supposed to give energy back. If you like what you see, clap or laugh, or if you don't like it, whatever, you know. And I think that there's a lot of people that just, there's people that are texting, there's people that are talking, and this isn't in my show. My show is never like this, but I've seen it at the show. This is what I'm trying to say. And then there's people that are just like oil painting. And you ask them later, like, did you like that? And they're like, yeah, but you're like, why were you just sitting there like, you know, stone face? So I think back in the day, people had an appreciation for live music, so they knew how to engage with the performer on stage, you know, and I think that doesn't really happen as much anymore. You know, people used to play live music in New York City nightclubs before there was like CDs and things like that.
A lot of people don't give it credit for it being a legitimate art form. They can kind of dismiss it as though it's some frivolous, silly man in a dress. And where there are drag queens that are so talented and they just don't really get the recognition or respect that they deserve for being, you know, a talented performer, a real like artist.
Well, because you are a man. I mean, you do dress like a man, right? Sometimes. I mean, you didn't come to Pittsburgh on the plane looking like that, honey. Come on.
No, I was a little bit more conservatively dressed, I must admit.
Yeah.
You know, a nice flying outfit, slacks and a top.
Did anybody know that I mean...
Well, the poor fellow who was coming to pick me up said, oh, I must have the wrong name. He looked at the name he was holding up. I said, oh, no, that's me. I'm just incognito right now. I can do a reasonably good impersonation of a man if I have to. You know, like to go to the gym or something.
Yeah.
To go to the men's room, things like that.
Did you... Well, which one do you go to now that you mentioned it?
Well, depends who's in there, I suppose. No, seriously, it depends where you are. Sometimes at some clubs, you know, you can use either, but usually, of course I'm in drag, I go to the women's room because they have better mirrors.
Okay, now let me get heavy for a second now, seriously.
All right.
You just mentioned children, and there are probably a few out there watching today, and we'll no doubt get some phone calls and some letters, etc., etc. My personal opinion of this whole thing is that it's an act. It doesn't threaten me. I don't think it threatens anyone here in the audience. It's kind of funny. It's something you look at, you laugh, and go, boy, now isn't that guy different? But how do kids look at you? And what kind of example are you setting? And do you worry about being an example? You know, we asked Danny Marino a minute ago. I mean, what does he think about as being an example for kids? It's important to him. Is it to you? Do you ever consider it?
Oh, yes, certainly, and I like to think that I've just set a positive example to let children know if they want to be drag queens, it's a perfectly all right thing to be, and they shouldn't feel, you know, embarrassed to want to be something like that, because it's what I've always wanted to be all my life, and you can have anything you want in life.
Because last Tuesday, the Community Board of Liquor Authority met because Boots and Saddles is trying to move to a different location in the village, ladies and gentlemen. We understand that we have to follow certain laws and rules, and we have absolutely no problem with that. What we do have a problem with is the gross display of bigotry from other community members in the village. Just some of the comments that were made by other community members where we think you need to find a space, but unfortunately we just don't think it's here. Here is where we started. This is where the gay rights movement started. And you're trying to push us out? Forget about it. Right behind me is Stonewall. In 1969, it was a drag queen who started the movement, ladies and gentlemen. Another comment, and this one really gets me. Another comment is, what happens if a child walks by and sees a drag queen? Oh no! That's absolutely ridiculous for several reasons, ladies and gentlemen. Drag queens are full of love, light, and color. What's bad about that? You tell me. It's that kind of bigotry. That is doing nothing but teaching hate. You are teaching them that it's not okay to be who they are, which only leads to them wanting to hate themselves or hate others. This is where suicide rates and attack rates soar, and it stops now. I really want to thank everybody for showing us here today, because the thing that really boiled my blood when I read that article was the comment about children seeing a drag queen. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story about myself, and then we're going to march, because I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I've been a drag queen for about 5 years. I have a beautiful, beautiful niece. Her name is Sophia, and I love Sophia with all my heart. There's not anything I wouldn't do for that little girl. I would do anything for her. And when I read that article, I thought to myself, Sophia has seen me paint my face before. She's even helped me put on my eyelashes before. And for Lois saying, what about the children? What happens if a child sees a drag queen? It really struck me. Because Sophia has seen me be a drag queen. And it made me think that she's trying to say that there's something wrong with me. That there's something wrong with my beautiful niece. And there's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with Sophia. Yeah, right. The only thing wrong with our community is that in 2014, we still have to fight this stuff. That's right. This is ridiculous, and I'm done.
It's really hard for me to kind of see what it's like outside, what people think outside of the drag community, because I've been a part of it for so long, and I never saw anything wrong with it. So when I hear remarks like, we don't want our children to see a drag queen, it takes me by surprise. So I'm not sure how the drag community is viewed, to be honest with you, by outside of the drag community. I don't know.
Boots and Saddles is trying to relocate because, well, they have to relocate. They're not trying, they have to relocate because the owner of the building is jacking up the rent, probably because he wants to move in some corporate place. That's probably going to build Starbucks right around the corner from another fucking Starbucks, and then open up a Chase Bank inside of it, and then build a Dwayne Reed in the basement, and then make an H&M in the bathroom. I don't fucking know, because those people will pay anything, and they can afford to pay anything to ruin neighborhoods. So Boots and Saddles was stricken down twice at the community board meeting because they were like, we don't want that kind of thing in our neighborhood. And then people didn't. I mean, meanwhile, Boots and Saddles have been in the neighborhood for 40 years. It's a very, very long time. Over 40 years. And their reasoning that they gave for not wanting Boots and Saddles to move to the street corner that they were choosing, because they were like, what if kids see drag queens? Then what happens? And I was like, what do you mean what fucking happens? What kind of stupid thing is that to say? As I swear up and down. But also I find it interesting that like we don't want our kids to hear like swear words. You can't say like fuck on TV, but you can see a man get like murdered on CSI. Like stabbed to death. But you can't say fuck, and you don't want to see drag queens in the corner, but I'll buy my kid. No, I don't want you seeing drag queen. Now let's go buy Grand Theft Auto and, shoot hookers in the goddamn streets of Miami on this video game. But you certainly don't need to look at drag queens, because that's like crazy.
When Billie Holiday wanted to share the stage with performers of all races and not only her own race. Something she couldn't do in Midtown, she couldn't do in Harlem. She came to Greenwich Village, right on 7th Avenue. When Barbra Streisand wanted to sing but couldn't get hired because she was so young, and above all because she didn't look like anybody else, she came to Greenwich Village. When Allen Ginsberg wanted to write the truth about gay life, he came to Greenwich Village. When Charles Ludlam wanted to stage plays that are still revolutionary, when Charles Ludlam wanted to wear a dress and a wig and makeup while he performed the plays he wrote, he came to Greenwich Village, to a theater just around the corner. And when gays fought back and launched a revolution that is still being fought every day in New York and Washington and Moscow and Uganda, they came right here in 1969. Around the world, Stonewall and Christopher Street are synonymous with the gay rights movement. And let's not forget, as several people have been saying, the person who threw the first punch that night was a drag queen with a purse. That is the character of Greenwich Village. That is what makes this neighborhood a beacon around the world. That is what fuels your economy and gives your property its true value. Amen! Yes. Unless you happen to have moved here sometime before World War I, this neighborhood has always been a haven for revolutionaries, artists, bohemians, gays, and drag queens. When people from around the world want to honor that tradition, they come to Greenwich Village. Most of us come to Greenwich Village because we don't live here. We can't afford to. The AIDS epidemic cut us down, and a lot of people who are attending these board meetings would not have their apartments if a gay man hadn't died there first. Our street. Who's enclave? Our enclave. Who's enclave? Our enclave. Whose village? Our village.
We were here first. 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 We were here first.
To me, this appearance has always been a very double-edged sword because people are quick to judge. And a lot of people will look at you and decide immediately that you're crazy or that you're weird or, they just don't trust you or they don't like what they see. And other people will look at you and they'll be, oh my God, you're amazing, you're gorgeous, you're fabulous, can I have a picture? What are you doing? They want to know things. And over the years that I've been doing this, I've learned that
people's reactions to me says a lot more about them than it does about me. Especially when you see children who are afraid and fearful. If you look at their parents' face, they usually have a look of disgust and they're pushing their child behind them saying, don't look at that, don't approach that. It's wrong, it's scary. But if you look at little kids who are smiling and they think you look pretty and sparkly and they want to know, are you a boy or a girl? Or their parents are smiling and they're encouraging their child to engage. And that's to me is a good parent. Someone who teaches their child not to be afraid, to open their arms and their minds to people who look different, and just realize that everyone's different and it's all okay and it's all good.
Well, welcome back to Bay Sunday, everyone. Our next guest is this year's Community Grand Marshal for San Francisco's Pride Parade. For over 30 years, she has been a leading activist here in San Francisco, fighting for equality for issues ranging from civil rights, human sexuality, and hate crimes. She's an active member of San Francisco's Sister of Perpetual Indulgence, a talk show host, writer, public speaker, and a light-up-your-room personality. How did I do?
I love that.
All right.
You make me sound so busy. I don't think I have time to be here. I'm sorry. I had never in my life thought that I would do drag. I had never considered getting dressed. Even for Halloween did I ever think about dressing as a woman. And all of a sudden, Norman, we were the cheerleaders from hell for the Eagles softball team. And he said, why don't you just try it? Just try the makeup. And he put me in Sister Whiteface, and I painted this face, and we went out to brunch, and then we went to cheer for the softball game, and I was completely hooked. So it was just this, it was like a side of me that I had never explored before, and it just was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then I learned about the sisters, and I realized that at the time, there were really only 6 active members in the whole world. The order started in San Francisco. And this small group of people, they were so passionate and cared so much about civil rights and about making a difference in the world. And it was like a bomb went off in my head. And I was like, oh my God, I care about my community. And I want to make a difference. I want the world to have been a better place for my being here. And I realized that the sisters were a great way to do that. Not only was I love San Francisco. The minute I came here, I fell in love with this city, and I fell in love with my community. I was impressed with the physical beauty of San Francisco. I mean, it's got to be one of the most beautiful places in the world. I mean, we all know that. But the actual social climate was actually what really attracted me, because the community here is so organized and so passionate and so intelligent that I just felt like I was at home the minute I came here. But then when I met the sisters, it changed my life. And I realized that I actually had a purpose here. And I cared about raising money for people with HIV and AIDS and seeing people who were sick. At the time, AIDS was still relatively new and frightening, and people were visibly sick and got Kaposi's and were hollowing out and dying of what they called gay cancer. And people were losing their jobs and their homes and their friends. So there were people who were literally lonely and dying. And the sisters were very brave and very forward and would approach people and talk to people. And sometimes all these people wanted was a hug. And I was like, yes, I can give you a hug. It was as simple as that. But then the sisters were also very political. When the Pope came to San Francisco, they held an exorcism of the Pope in Union Square. That was amazing. And they did all of these really radical, crazy things. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. So I joined the order in 1987. And our 10th anniversary was 1989. And at the time, there was a rise in hate crimes against the LGBT community, especially around the Castro and Dolores Park. And I was so outraged at the fact that people were being so brutally attacked and mugged. And I thought, this is my opportunity. I'm a member of the sisters, and we do things like this. I can fight this. I can make a difference. So I started the Stop the Violence campaign, which was a window placard. I designed a window placard with a pink triangle in it. And I thought it back when I was a kid, we had this thing called the Block Mother program, where if you were young and you were being bullied or in danger, you could look for a sign in the window and you knew that there was a friendly place to go. So I thought, well, we could do this in San Francisco, and people who need help will see this sign and they'll know that it's a safe place. So we combined that with whistles for, rape whistles and we started to distribute it all over San Francisco and all over college campuses, and it grew into this great big campaign. We added safer sex information and lube and stuff like that. And we did that campaign for many, many years, and then it ran its course until 2010, when Stephen, a young young black boy was murdered at Pink Saturday in the Castro in San Francisco. And that was devastating to the sisters and all of us. And I realized that we needed to start that campaign again. I'm sorry. That was a very emotional time, and it still really gets me because he was just an innocent young boy. He was 18, you know, he was there to celebrate gay pride. And there's always been a history of violence around Pink Saturday from people who come from outside the community. So we started the Stop the Violence campaign again with a vengeance, and we joined with the police force. And we still do that campaign today. So that's one of my legacies with the order that I'm very proud of.
Are trying so hard to get clean. You got perfect shirts, you got perfect hair, you got perfect clothes. What on the inside of you is so dirty that you have to make the outside of you so clean. Why do some of you go to such lengths to make your outside so clean?
And if you're wondering why we're judging, we're supposed to judge. That's why we're here.
I think we're complacent. I think we're anesthetized a lot. I think cell phones, I think a lot of this stuff has anesthetized people wonderfully to a degree. But we do gather together when certain things happen, you know, and the internet is great for certain things. But I think in a way sometimes everyone's a little like, oh, we're on TV. Everyone accepts us. I don't know. It's just different. People don't get that. It's changed. It's become a little bit more diluted. You know, people don't. They don't. In the day we got up and we protested. That's what we did. In the early '90s, my career blossomed out of activism. And I started there, you know, I had a point of purpose, and we were lip syncing in Sheridan Square, I think it was, with a boombox, that's what you used to call a boombox, a sheet which we changed behind, and we lip synced terrible songs as the onlookers threw money in a bucket to raise money for Queer Nation and the occasional cigarette butt.
Well, times have changed a lot when it comes to activism. It's not the 90s anymore. It's not the 70s anymore when people got pissed off and took it to the streets. I think there's a lot of armchair activism now where people feel like if they're on Facebook or they see a GoFundMe or an online petition and they sign it, they think they've done their part and they're good to go. And that's not enough. We need to get more people out on the streets like we used to and actually being heard, being seen, and letting them know. Let people know that you're pissed off and let people see, wow, there's a huge amount of people who care about this. People, we need to get the young people motivated and to care about issues more again. We do see new people who are young people who have that activism in them, who do care about, who are passionate about issues. Those are the new people who join the Sisters that keep the order growing and keep the order new and fresh. Those are new people who join the Imperial Court, which is very, very involved in raising money for charity. And they're not that big on activism, but they do so much for the community. So it's really gratifying whenever you see a young person who wants to follow that path with their drag career, because those are the people that I'm akin to, that I appreciate, and we need people like that in the world. So it's hard to keep relevant and keep people interested and to get people to realize that.
My drag kind of not started with activism, but like my early drag was a lot about activism. We used to do these protests in Times Square called Drag Queen Weddings for Equality. Me and my friends Frosty Flakes and Azrea all started this thing called Drag Queen Weddings for Equality, where we go to Times Square every Saturday in full drag, in like wedding dresses and like tuxedos and like a bishop, and we do these little mock wedding ceremonies, and we'd pass out information on the inequalities in against gays in America. Like a lot of people didn't know and still don't know that as of today, gay guys still can't give blood, which is hilarious and ridiculous because of the blood shortage we're experiencing right now. These are from when I was, me and my roommate and my friend Frosty Flakes were arrested in Bryant Park for activism. That's how one of my earliest drag things, we got arrested, we got locked up, and I snuck a bagel in under my wig, and I had almonds in my titties, and my roommate had Cliff Bars on his hips, and And we were, by the way, we were in and out of jail in like 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes. They were like,
Like for me, it's fun. For me, it's like a form of creative expression. You know what I mean? It's not political for me. I can see why it would be construed as political because we are breaking down gender rules. Not just gender roles, but like gender rules that are in a rule book that no one has actually written but is expected from everyone. You know what I mean? Like drag queens break down barriers all the time. I mean, think about Stonewall, Homegirl, whoever she was. I don't know what drag queen it was, but she threw the brick. She threw the brick and started the riots. You know what I mean? She was the first bitch to get that shit started. So, you know, drag queens are notorious for breaking down barriers in society that are unjust and hold people back.
They're famous for their creativity and wit, but San Francisco drag queens today said they are dead serious about their dispute with Facebook.
There is something targeting drag queens, performers, people who are transgender. Somebody is reporting us and they're wiping us out of existence.
Heklina says Facebook has recently begun locking the accounts of LGBT people worldwide who use an alias or stage name, telling them that they can only regain access by posting their legal name. Facebook policy requires users' real names as listed on legal ID, though Facebook rarely confirms that information with users. The company says it helps keep the online community safe.
This is really creating an unsafe environment for transgender people, bullied youth who need to keep their true identity hidden.
They put names on that aren't their names so that they won't be outed at school or in their workplace.
A Facebook spokesman late today told KTVU about 200 LGBT people worldwide using aliases had been reported on by other users. The company said it would at least temporarily reactivate those profiles.
Ultimately, I think that I would boycott Facebook and go off of Facebook rather than being told how to identify myself.
I thought, oh, they're probably just trying to confirm my identity, or I figured they probably already know my name. I couldn't believe they didn't. So I just entered Michael Williams, and my profile popped up with this face and all of my pictures in my timeline with my legal name on it. And I said, well, this isn't Michael's profile. Really, nobody knows Michael. I don't care if people know my legal name. I'm not hiding from anyone. I'm not going to lose my job. I'm obviously very out. But this is Roma. I am Roma. I have been Sister Roma for 30 years. This is my identity. So I thought, well, I'll contact Facebook and just set it straight and it'll be fine and they'll change it back. Well, I don't know if you've ever tried to contact Facebook. It's impossible. And I'm not kidding. If there's a phone number you can call, it's all pre-recorded. It directs you back to the website. They have little drop-down menus for help items. There's a few selections, and everything that you get, they send back a bot response. You never really get to talk to a real person. So I was frustrated with that. So I did what everybody does, and I went to Twitter. And I said, tell Facebook that their real name policy is unfair and discriminatory. And I used the hashtag, my name is Roma. And that fucking blew up. It was insane. And it got national, global attention. And before I knew it, there was a reporter from ABC7 in my office looking at me on Facebook, talking about the issue. I was getting phone calls from the BBC and CNN and doing interviews. And I was like, this is a huge problem. And the way that they took it was the drag queens versus Facebook, because that's really good clickbait. If anybody sees this title like that, they're going to be like, what's this? And then they put your face up there and they're like, oh my God, what's, you know. So it was a very hot topic and it spread really quickly. But as soon as I started that fight, I realized quickly that it was not just a bunch of drag queens bitching about having our stage names, because I got emails from people all over the world telling me that they use names on Facebook for different reasons that are not their legal names. And then I realized there are millions of people who have authentic identities that cannot be proven with a piece of paper or a government ID. A bunch of us got together and we were like, we're gonna have a protest. And we got buses, we got bullhorns, we got signs, we had a whole thing ready to go. And then Facebook called me.
Drag queens have their Facebook accounts back, for now at least. They faced off with the social network at San Francisco City Hall yesterday. The meeting came after hundreds of them had their accounts deactivated. Facebook says it's cleaning up and enforcing a real name policy to make things safer. The meeting lasted an hour, but they didn't make it a final deal. Drag queens still are not pleased.
But now it's really humiliating because I have been Heclina for 20 years and I have Facebook telling me Heclina does not exist. So they're basically wiping you out of existence.
Facebook says it's going to give people 2 weeks to fix their profiles. They can confirm their name, change it to their real name, or convert their profile to a page.
So we met with them over a series of 8 months. And 4 different times we went to Facebook campus and we tried to explain the situation to them and point out that it was more than just the LGBT community, but definitely our community was being maliciously targeted using this fake name reporting option. Because right now on Facebook, if anybody looks at somebody and thinks that they're using a fake name, they can report you and your account is suspended and you have to prove that that's who you are. And the fake name reporting tool is the only option that punishes identity and not behavior. Like people who are doing nothing wrong except to exercise the right to self-identify are being maliciously reported, and Facebook is suspending their accounts. So we're like, just take off that reporting option. You don't need it. It's obsolete. Every way to report bad behavior is already in place on Facebook. And they refused to do that. So we did hold a protest with that Facebook campus on June 1st. We took 2 busloads of people out there and made some noise, and we're continuing to fight them on this policy.
And I understand why they're doing it, because they want to get money off of you. They feel like you're getting free advertisement, and you aren't. And I am kind of technically getting free advertisement, but the amount of traffic I'm generating to Facebook. I mean, am I huge on Facebook? No, but I have reached a friend limit, and I have like about 1,000 people who follow me. So my reach is about 6,000 people. So if I post a status update or a picture, potentially 6,000 people will see it. But they want you to get a like page instead. On a like page, your numbers drop drastically. Like you have to pay to get to 6,000 people, like a lot of money. Which is why Lady Gaga gets to be Lady Gaga, because she has a like page and she can afford to pay that kind of money. Because even once you have the like, it's like you'll go in and it'll show you, like you'll post something like, oh, this will seem like 12 people. Or you can just give us $5 and we can make sure it gets seen by like 200 people. Or you can give us, like $20 and make sure it gets seen by like 6,000. You know what I mean? You have to like pay to get people to see what you're doing. That's why when you scroll down your news feed, you see all this shit. You're like, I'm not friends with fucking, tampons or Tampax. Why am I seeing a Tampax commercial that automatically starts playing as soon as I scroll? But I'm not seeing things from Bambi Galore, the burlesque artist who I clicked on her like page, and I went out looking for her, but she's not on my screen because she didn't pay the money. Either people are going to all get mad and leave Facebook, which I really don't see that happening soon, or and Facebook's going to have to change their policy, or Facebook will have their way. And you'll go see a show, and instead of seeing Bobby Drag Queen, you'll see Christopher Caldwell and welcome to stage, Kevin Burton, Christopher Caldwell, Jeremy Carey, and Caesar, Villain Vinciano. And instead of queens, we'll just call the show dudes. I don't fucking know. Like, they'll have their way because they're fucking Facebook and they rule the free world, basically, because we give them the power to.
I mean, it's all about social media, which is unfortunate for me because I have no goddamn clue how to use it. I don't know how to use the computer. If I knew how, I would love to have a YouTube channel. Do you know how much those girls make? It's a ridiculous amount of money. A very good friend of mine just passed, Madison, and she had an amazing YouTube channel. She was so innovative with makeup and so smart and so talented. And it's really a sad tragedy that she's no longer with us. She was making amazing money on her YouTube channel.
My name is Claudia Lake. Some of you on the internet know me as C-Maddox. Bitch. I'm here to let my pups, friends, and family who I haven't spoken to know that I do have skin cancer. Thank you guys for all your support, your love, your encouraging words.
It's tough, I mean, Madison died at such a young age, and it was so upsetting, and it was such a rare, a disease that she had that you just can't help. It's one thing when your friends die of something that they could have prevented. And I hate, I sound kind of cold, but maybe that's that New York mentality. But when someone dies of an overdose, you can call it a disease. Is it? I don't know if I'm the judge of that. But when someone dies and it's just, you just can't, there's nothing you can do, it's horrible. And it is nice to see that the community really gelled together over that particular loss. And I think about her every day, actually, to tell you the truth. Doesn't help that my hands are like filthy.
Yeah, you should put that back in the solution and go wash your hands.
I just did.
Before you wind up with an eye infection.
Won't be the first one of those. It can't be that hard.
Well, cum is different.
Right?
Makeup is...
I had an old friend once that got... What did she have?
Okay, now take it. Wait. Take it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flip it over. Pinch and flip it over.
No. Put that on there. So what should it be, curved up?
Yes, it should be curved up so that way it'll be easier.
Alright. This is some shit.
Open your eye all the way. And slide it in.
It's a lot softer than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like a hard, like piece of glass. Alright, let's try one more time and then I'm going to give up.
No two drag queens are the same. Even the most prestigious dance queens, no two queens are the same. We all bring something different to the table. We're like snowflakes. What you bring is going to be completely different from what I bring. So you can't be focused on the other girl. Focus on what you know to do best.
I'm the girl with a little bit extra. I'm the girl with a little bit more. I've got a little bit here, a little bit there, and a very special little bit, but I'm not saying where. The boys think I'm a mystery with very naughty eyes. I never tell them all the truth, but I don't tell them lies. And if they try to find out, well, they'll get a big surprise. I'm the girl with a little bit extra. I'm the girl with...
Some girls give looks. Some girls kick. Some girls split. Some girls are funny. Some sing live.
Yes, there are a lot of different types of drag queens. The names of said drag queens can either be complimentary in some arenas and insulting in others. They're like if you watch Drag Race, they'll call a girl a bar queen, as if it's a bad thing. When I know for a fact that more bar queens make more money than any other queens out there, simply based on tips alone. And then there's show queens, which are your Broadway bitches. They and Holiday, who can really fucking turn out a Broadway song, and can do triple sow cows off the fucking ceiling. So it's there are different kinds. I think it's mostly based on what their sensibilities are, and what their interests are as far as entertainment goes. There's scary queens, spook queens, Sharon Needles. The ones that are really terrifying and use that dark aesthetic to entertain. I personally don't think that you should subscribe to labels. At least for me, I don't care for labels. I think it limits you and I think it pigeonholes you. And I think that you should always keep your options open if you want to continue making money doing this. Have a brand. Definitely be a brand. Market yourself and your name in a way that is recognizable and only indicative to you, but don't you don't want to like typecast yourself. You know what I mean?
I've met a lot of new queens that say, oh, I only do drag because I want to be on Drag Race and I want to become famous because of Drag Race. Whereas that's not really what it's about. You know, it's about being an entertainer, being a performer, being, whether you're entertaining on a stage or just being within a party and being a fixture and an entertainer within a party. And too many people are starting to see it as, this is my way to become famous, rather than this is my way of changing the world and like making people like smile a little more. Yeah. There's a lot of times where there's too much drag. Like there will be slow weeks, and then there will be weeks where your skin is raw and you're just angry, your feet hurt, your body hurts, people get irritating. But, you know, it's all part of the gig. You know, if I'm not busy, I feel like I'm not doing anything right.
I think drag is every day, honey. You see these girls pumping it on Fifth Avenue, going into the shops, feeling cute in 5-inch heels. Nobody wants to shop in 5-inch heels. That's their drag. You know, you see guys that spend 4 hours in the gym, then they go tanning, then they find a child's small shirt to wear out to a nightclub. That's their drag. My drag's just a lot more colorful. So what drag is, I guess, would be an outward expression of internal feeling.
The difference to me between the queens then and the queens now is how polished they are. They like pop out and they just look really good. Like they've all stepped up their game. And also the acceptance of drag. It's become so cool and hip and people love it. So young people starting out there's tutorials online that you can learn how to do everything from top to bottom and carve it in and just pop it out and glue it on, and anything you want to know how to do about drag, it's online. And these young kids start out and they look so good.
I'm happy that I know what life was like before this insanity. Now I sound like someone when they invented the telephone. Oh, that's never going to work. That telephone is a fad. No, but at least I know what it was like to be in New York City when it was quiet. Really, when everyone wasn't always looking at the phone, they were just looking over their shoulders. Like, if I was going on a date with you, I'd be like, oh, you're so cute. But I'd be looking over going, but now I don't even have to look up. I can look at my phone and speak with you, and no one cares. We have cell phones. We're no longer talking through 2 tin cans and a string. We don't have to leave our house to do anything. That's why there's so many fat drag queens nowadays. In my days, everyone was thin and taut because we actually had to move. You had to leave. You had to go out on the street when you wanted to go. It's exhausting now. Oh, you have to constantly be pushing a button to promote this. And the day you took an ad out in a magazine, people came, they had a lot of fun. It just seemed more organic and less planned. It's exhausting now. It's exhausting. Trying to pretend you're somebody on the web, constantly posting happy pictures of yourself. Don't you think it's exhausting? Always having to be on. That's the thing now that's changed. You always have to be on, constantly.
My first time I came to New York City I didn't even live here. And I came with a girlfriend of mine. We did the telemarketing at the Opera House in Wilmington, Delaware. And we got on the bus as boys. We got off of the Peter Pan bus as girls. We had nowhere to stay, no hotel. All we had was like a little cash. And we were walking around the city, and I think we went to the Village. Like now, I didn't know where these places were because it was the first time I'd been to them. So we just walked around the city. But now that I've been here, I can like kind of recall like, oh, that was here, oh, that was there. We walked past Port Authority, 42nd Street between 8th and 9th. And oh my God, I saw all kinds of stuff. And the main thing I saw was the entire wall. Like, I think now there's like some steps. It's not really any, it's like the side of 42nd Street side of Port Authority where we would catch, like, you catch buses to New Jersey now. That was not what that was. It was a row of drug dealers, pimps, and prostitutes leaning against the wall, and you could take your pick, and they would take their pick, and whatever was gonna happen was gonna happen. And we were walking past that, and it was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, we were probably gonna get killed. And you know, there was like, I mean, there was so, like trans prostitutes walking around. This one girl, we thought we were so like hot stuff, like second day in drag with our like rainbow dress and our like $5 wig. And some guy pulled up and like whipped out his, you know what, and we're like, oh my God. I was like 18, I'd never seen that before. In a car, like it was crazy in New York City. And this girl, she walked by, trans woman. All she did was open her blouse, flash her titties. They started shaking around, like doing like twirls. And all of a sudden, every car on the street that we thought was parked turned on their lights and followed that bitch down the street. I mean, this was all like in one 20-minute walk, you know, from one part of the street to the next. So that, I don't know when the last time, have you seen that when you walk down that street now? It's people from Wisconsin. So it's not the same thing. So yeah, the city's just different. Like, you know, you could definitely, before it was do your drugs, have your sex, but just don't do it in front of the security guards. And now the security guards are obviously told to like find that stuff and kick it out. And I think people are so trained now, like they're not even thinking of they're still doing drugs in the clubs, but they're not thinking of like, let's go have sex in that corner. You know, I think they're not doing that anymore. I don't know.
When we went to the Pyramid Club, that was the hub for where drag queens, if any fabulous drag queen could have been found, we were easy to find. There were certainly certain places you could be. Any fabulous drag queen was found at the Pyramid Club. That's where everything started. Everyone's career began there pretty much. If you walk in and you'd see all these great drag names, all these unbelievably, people would go to see live. It was amazing. I'm glad I got to see that, because there's nothing like it today. People don't go to bars for the same reasons anymore. They used to really go to bars for entertainment and also to get laid. So you can mix the two, and wow, what a great night.
I'm afraid some of you came here expecting a classy drag act. I did not want you to go away disappointed. So here goes. Oh, is that a gun in your pocket, or are you glad to see me? What it up, lads, what it up.
Great. I know pictures because I take pictures so many times. The only way they photograph me for a camera is
Happy New Year now.
Those are the lumpiest tits I ever saw. Wake up, girl, wake up. Is she breathing? Is she alive? Oh! Ah!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
She's dead. She died. I want her shoes. Oh. Kitty, who gets her shoes?
Is she really that passed out? You're faking it.
My one companion, you all that matters. You were a friend.
Many times I drove home just because it was easier to go home and take the makeup off and stuff. One night I had a detective attack me in the. He offered to escort me to my car, and this Detroit detective in plain clothes attacked me, tried to sexually molest me, take my skirt, tried to get my skirt up, pull my pantyhose down, and get at my privates, and then wanted me to. He had all kinds of very sick fantasies. And the only way I got away from him was I was in my car and I had the steering wheel in my hands and I took my high heels and I jammed them into his chest. And they would have punctured him if he hadn't been wearing a trench coat. And he was knocked over backward and he pulled his gun. He started to pull his gun and I floored it. So I'm driving with one leg hanging out the door's open, my skirt's up to here, pantyhose are just about down, and there's nothing else on, okay? And all I can remember was how beautiful those shoes were. Mafia run and owned homosexual bars, usually in off dark back alleys with back alley entrances. It was illegal. And if we were in drag, we had to have, and got caught, you better be wearing a male underwear. If you were wearing a gaff or G-string or any female, you went to jail. And that was the main rule about the law. We weren't supposed to do it at all, but if you could get away with it in court if you'd not been wearing female underwear. I became an employee of one of the largest mafia clubs. And that got me a lot of privileges, a lot of exposure and safety, because they hired motorcycle gangs to take care of us and protect us, and they'd be security out back. They'd check your IDs coming in. That was almost at every club I was ever a part of. You couldn't tell anyone you were doing drag. You'd lose your job. As a matter of fact, I lost a job because one of the employees, assistant to my boss, was in the audience of that very first show I did, and I lost my job the next day. And that was kind of not unusual for the kids, for the guys who did drag. You really had to keep it quiet. One night I came out of drag, I was in drag to drive home, and I didn't ask anybody to escort me to my car. When I get outside, there's a guy laying on the ground with a bullet hole in him, and he's in pain and he's bleeding, and he says, "Can you help, would you help me?" And I hoist him onto my shoulders. I had a gorgeous outfit on, okay, spikes like that, and threw him in my car, and I raced him over to the emergency room. But I put him out on the front of the hospital, of the emergency room doors. I couldn't go in, especially in drag.
Hey, Margaret, how you doing? What's going on? And I woke up this morning, I was like, God, I'm going to be in New York, and I don't have a thing packed, and I was like throwing up and sick.
That's great.
I don't know.
How long have you been here, standing here? How you doing, Nelson? Great to see you.
Good to see you. Everybody's been waiting for you.
Huh?
Everybody's been waiting for you.
Oh, really? That's good to hear. Hi.
Bertrand, this is RuPaul Bertrand Castelli.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is Dick around here?
I haven't seen Dick, but I expect they'll be over here shortly for Kinnon's show at midnight.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. How long have you been standing around here? You guys been inside?
And then Christy Rose is there tonight, too, you know.
Right. No, I'm just being out and being wonderfully glamorous, that's all. I do that so well. You have to say those things. Thank you. And it was amazingly a short amount of time. The eyelashes didn't take that long tonight. I was lucky. But I can't wait to go in the old hellhole.
I loved it when I first got here. It was one of those places that I felt like you literally do something, meet a different person every single day for the rest of your life. And you couldn't do that in Delaware. There was so much to discover, and I was, still exploring the city. So I think New York was probably the same to me as it is to any young person coming to the city like today. But, I saw you could, whatever you wanted to do, you could pretty much do it as long as you didn't think you were gonna get caught, which just meant as long as somebody's standing there and nobody's standing there, you're good to go. So it was drugs, it was sex, it was, even, I'm a really pretty tame person. Honestly, I don't drink or do anything crazy. And I hosted a party, this was even a little bit later on, which was only 10 years ago, called Rated X, the Panty Party, which was a weekly party that was kind of on the flip side of a really popular gay party at a place called Opaline that was called Area 1009. Anyway, so I hosted the hot body contest at this party, And I mean, it was not an underwear contest. It was basically, you started in your underwear, and it was always naked, and there was always sex acts going on stage. People were doing things with stuff that wasn't even body parts. Bottles, beer bottles, whatever they could find, to win that $100 cash. You know, it was like prostitution. I'm just thinking of that. It's like live prostitution or something.
Trying to make this damn money. Alright. Goddamn dollar money. Alright. I done made my money, honey. I do not. Yes, you did. I need some lipstick. I look absolutely terrible. Do I have my shoes? I got my shoes. I don't have any lipstick on, Nelson. My hair is a mess. I've let these men touch all over me for the money. I'm trying to pay my rent. I'm trying to get a new apartment. And I let all these men touch me. Just because I wanted the money. Isn't that terrible? What else is there? What am I going to do? I'm in show business, you know?
You gotta live, Rue.
I gotta live, right?
You have to let men touch you.
I didn't even get these. Well, I had a lot of drinks. And I said to myself, you know, what do you want? These guys, they look at you, they want to touch you. Charge them for it, damn it. What's the damn wrong with that, huh? So I just said, oh, my mat. I didn't bring my mat back down, but they'll bring it down. We have to dance on these mats now because they just did the new bar. They've touched it up, made it new.
Might be on the other side.
I looked over there. They didn't have them over there. But you didn't. It does look delicious. Different from the water I have at my house.
What kind of water do you have here?
Brown.
Out of the tap? Out of the tap?
House, but I ain't got no clothes and I don't want to be stuck over there.
You want to run in and grab some clothes and then go there?
Nah, I don't make some clothes. That silver stuff I have at my house.
Get some good silver stuff?
Uh-huh.
What did you get?
Turkey club.
Oh, you are hungry, aren't you? All right, they went to go get cigarettes at Dwayne Reed's, so we have to wait.
Oh, cool.
Do I even want anything? I don't even really want anything.
You're not hungry?
No, girl, I had a protein shake.
That's it? That's what you had today?
Yeah, girl, I'm trying to feature skinny body. But I'm not trying to eat too much these days.
It's like cold.
Because despite the snow, spring is right around the corner, and I'm trying to have a big fat ass and a tiny waist. That's what I'm trying to do.
People think that there are two sexes, male and female, and that's just a little too hard and sharp. Sexuality and gender is a little more fluid than that, and people do, all of us, run the gamut somewhere between 100% female and 100% male. And a lot of people, you know, are 99% one or 99% the other, and there's some of us who are just sort of fiddling around here in the middle somewhere.
You're 50-50, you think?
Well, it depends. Some days I'm more like 60-40. I don't believe that my personality is exactly the same gender as my physical body. So therefore, in my mind and in my presence, I feel that I'm as much a woman as a man, depending on which personality.
As a woman?
Thrilled.
No, happier, she said.
Happier, though. Happier than when you're a man?
Well, the two are not in conflict.
Okay.
So there's no...
And there's no thinking on your part of becoming a transsexual, of having surgery and changing your entire life?
Well, I've considered it, but I don't think it's viable for me personally. I'm very happy as I am. I enjoy, you know, my physical body as it is, and I enjoy my strength and working out. And
Are you gay, Doris?
Yes, I am. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No, I'm not a lesbian.
You're not... are all transvestites gay?
No, actually, transvestites usually are somewhere in between. A lot of transvestites are heterosexual, you know, and it's a clothing fetish.
Okay.
Some men, as you probably know, swap their women's clothes around with their wives and things like this, and it's not that unusual. But a lot of drag queens are generally homosexuals.
As I probably know.
John, I've just observed you sort of feel a little uncomfortable. Let's talk about how you react to Doris.
I'm sorry, am I a little uncomfortable?
No. She was saying that I look a little uncomfortable. Well, I mean, actually, I'm sort of torn between warming up to her and backing away from. I would assume that my reaction is fairly typical.
It is fairly typical, yes. I think, well, especially for heterosexual men, and are you?
Yes.
Okay. Yes,
Well, thanks for asking.
I don't like to presume upon people's sexuality, but heterosexual men, of course, if they're not attracted to me, will be naturally hesitant about something, because it's like you're getting two messages at once.
I mean, I try to be educational because I get a lot of questions all the time, like, how are you straight and you do drag, or what why did you choose to do it, or like how are you comfortable doing it? And I always get that, and I always kind of try to educate people that it's not so much about sexuality, it's more about art. I mean, if you look back in the Shakespeare days, men played all the parts, so essentially we're just taking it back, but taking it to another level. And it's just an art form. I mean, there are drag queens that consider themselves drag queens, but they don't dress like women. They have styles and looks where it's more like a club kid style, but it's still considered drag. So the impact that I hope to have is that if you're a straight man that wants to try drag, just do it. I mean, you'll notice that even if you're not accepted for it at first, eventually, if you do it enough, people will realize that it's who you are and it's there to stay. And you'll notice that the more you do it, the more confident you're going to feel about yourself. It goes well until I kind of mention it, and then they kind of like, okay, hold on a second. Like, it kind of deters them a little bit. Like, they don't, I don't know how exactly they perceive it, because they don't want to, I guess they don't know how they perceive it, or they're not comfortable enough telling me that they're not comfortable with it. Basically, long story short, I wind up being friends, and it never really passes the friend stage. Like, we'll go out on a date or two, and then we're friends. It was like, well, we're better off as friends. And it's like, honestly, if that's what I have to live with, then that's what I'm willing to live with. I mean, drag is something I've chosen to do either, for fun, or to get a message across, or to impact, society some way, shape, or form. Then I can't tell people to be who you are and then not be who I am and what I want to be, because I'm afraid of an outcome of something else. I feel like for myself that would be kind of hypocritical. So, I mean, I can't, tell all these young gay men who want to be drag queens and they're too afraid to do it, to just go ahead and do it. But at the same time, I'm not going to do it because no one will date me. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I have to lead by the example I'm trying to set. So if she doesn't want to go out with me or date me because I do drag, well, I'm sorry, then you're not the one.
So I actually do affirmations every time I go to work, and I'm just like, I will be thankful for everyone that shows up. I'll be thankful for every laugh I get. Super grateful for everybody that buys a Jell-O shot. I will not complain even when they don't tip me, which happens a hell of a lot. I will be cordial and pleasant to everyone I see. And I will be thankful to my employer, honey. See that? See? That never happens to me, except for when there's someone else around. But that's crazy, right?
Have you ever had anybody who's just wanted to flat haul back and cold cock you? I mean...
Not cold cock.
Well, pardon my choice of words, but to...
Punch you out.
I was going to say let you out, but that doesn't work out.
Well, actually, no, I have suffered some violence and abuse, yes.
Have you?
Not too much recently, because now as I've become more professional, I'm not actually out on the street too often. Going to bars and things and out and about. But yes, in the past, things have happened like that.
Do they see them on the street, RuPaul?
You're the disgrace to the human race, you know that?
Yeah, they're taking pictures of your ass. You know this picture?
I came in, did you see me before I came in? I'm the sexy one. The model.
Once I have like the support of another girl with me, I will go anywhere in drag. I'm getting better about going out, just like.
But it's also like you have to keep your wits about you. Like you can't just be willy-nilly like bullshitting around town.
No, like I keep my eyes open on the subway because I know people are looking, and I always have that like, when does looking translate over into like stepping up to me and saying something or like getting physical? I've never been like attacked.
Yeah.
That better not be a joke. I'm fucking hot. Don't Hi.
So do you deal with that on a daily basis?
What?
Do you deal with comments like that on a daily basis?
Honestly, people, usually when they say like, oh, you're looking hot, they mean it. Like usually if someone, like I rarely get the like sarcastic ones. If someone says something, it's usually like, oh girl, you look good. Or I'll get like a dirty look, but they don't want to say anything. But like, something like sarcastic like that, I don't usually get. I'm like, fuck you, I look great.
I've been threatened with violence just as a gay man.
Yeah, I feel almost more vulnerable like that than in drag in a way because like, well, that's a lie, but like partly I feel like I feel like the masculine like patriarchy is like treating me as two different things. Like at least when I'm in a feminine like and in drag, at least it's like they see something they can get out of you, so they are not gonna like. They might be rude to you, sure, but they're not gonna like attack you necessarily.
That's the thing, like I definitely have felt, as much as I'm so with you that I think I feel more vulnerable out of drag, or in drag rather, but more shit has happened to me out of drag.
Yeah.
Like no one's actually stepped to me in any way that I felt was super threatening while I've been in my lady clothes.
I feel like when you're straight, you have to spend so much time acting straight, and if anyone thinks you're gay, you have to like go to extra lengths just to like prove that you're not gay, and it's like no, but no, and it's like you have to do like so much, like it's like just you ever like straight guys like no homo this, and like they just spend so, it's like not seeming gay is such a big part of your day. You know what I mean? And when you're gay and you get to be in a gay environment, or you get to be in an environment where people don't really aren't like out to chase you out of town, you don't have that pressure of being like always having to like. Everyone's like what a man is and what it's like to be a man, and man up, and real men do this, and I'm like that sounds exhausting. Does it just sound like, oh my god? So I mean I don't have to worry about like being a man all the time, or because I am a man, and once you're really comfortable with your gender, then you tend to not have to worry. It's not like something you always have to worry about every second of the goddamn day. Being like making sure everyone knows you're a man, I did have one of my cousins one time write me on Facebook when I first started drag. She was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "It's me in drag." And she was like, "Well, that's not okay." And I was like, "Well, bitch, you think I want fucking advice from you? You're 18 with 3 kids. And you think I want advice from you, bitch? Like, for real?" Then, that's when you realize, like, oh, you're stupid. I should have stopped talking to you a long time ago. But you're my cousin, so I have to talk to you every once in a while. Like, when someone says something like, gay men have to be masculine. If I wanted to date a girl, I'd be straight. I'm like, you've already put up a wall. You've already put up this big wall that is not allowing any type of actual information in. You know what I mean? You're already entering the scenario like, oh, I have my opinions and I can't be swayed, and this is what this is. So people like that, I don't say anything to them. But if I'm like a debate forum, I'll be like, you know what?
it's funny when people say you have to be yourself. Everyone says you have to be natural. It's kind of like when people tell women, you know, you look better with no makeup. Just be more natural. I'm like, would you tell like a Native American who wears like their tribal markings, just be natural without that stuff? No, because it's part of their markings. You feel like a warrior with it on. So if a woman feels amazing with makeup, let her wear fucking makeup and leave the house. And if I feel good with makeup and my nail polish, then leave me the fuck alone. Let me wear my nail polish. It's not your nails.
You can always tell what a person is like, what their spirit is like by how they deal with eccentric characters. If someone looks at me and they respond with joy and they're happy, that's probably how they respond to most things in life. You know what I mean? If they respond to me in a tentative way, they're not exactly sure, but they're not negative. That's probably how they treat things in their life. They're just, ease slow. And if they're negative and they're hateful, then that's how they are as a human being. And yeah, I know how to defuse a bomb. That's one thing you learn by working in bars. You learn how to defuse a bomb, because there are people who really, really get out of hand, and you have to learn how to calm them down without anything happening.
I want to make sure you get this on camera. I'm going to tell you the reason why you don't interrupt my show when I'm talking, all right? What's your name? Mr. Perez. Mr. Perez. My name is Bob the Drag Queen. No, I hold the microphone. I don't come to your job and harass you. Now you can't. No, follow me, bitch. We got a job to do. Like, bring your ass right here. Now you came to my show. You think it is appropriate for you to scream to me? Where is Shangela? Don't kiss my hands. I don't know where you've been this past weekend or two, girl. But I also didn't come to your show and harass you. Now, let me tell you a little secret about life. This might be your first time at the rodeo, but I do this all the time, baby, all right? So the way the night will go like this. Either you will behave yourself, and the audience will love you. They're like, oh, we love him. He's a reformed sinner. Or you will keep harassing me, and out of nowhere, a big black man will tap you on the shoulder and escort you out of the building. Even bigger and even blacker than me. Like this? Are you okay? I think she's learned good. Thank you. And we can all continue on with our show today. And that is how you handle a heckler, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome. Puerto Rican Day Parade, girl.
Well, like I said, high school was really bad. I was gay bashed 3 times, growing up. Once in high school, I was raped in high school. There was a lot of shit, and that was just holding me back. And then eventually, you just kind of gotta let it go. I'm 31 years old. I can't be upset about shit that I when I was 15 for the rest of my life. That's kind of pathetic. At some point, you kind of just have to choose to be happy. Do I want a petticoat, or is that too dated? That's too dated, right? Do I want to wear a petticoat, or is it gonna be? That's gonna be uber saloon.
Basically, you should just have you on these day beds fucking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this cute? Yeah, I like it. Yay! I spent the last 8 months homeless. A lot of people don't know that. And it's been really, really hard. And it's something that I might speak publicly about, because it was really hard. It's humiliating as fuck, because, I'm one of the luckiest queens in New York to be in a position that I'm in, being able to work. We're both so hot. It's gonna be perfect. See? Fucking major, right? She's so ridiculous. Ah! She's so big. But you get distracted. And people aren't always what they seem to be. They'll make promises that they don't live up to. And
they won't care if you fall flat on your face or fall flat into a gutter. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality we live in. My dad is awesome. My dad's fantastic. I don't really talk to my mom anymore. I just don't. I don't talk to my sister either. That's kind of the reason why I don't really talk to them. They don't really care about me at all. They'll pretend to save face because they don't want the rest of the family to like judge them. But I remember right after college, I asked my mom for some help. I don't even remember what it was like referring to, but all I remember was her response. Your dad got you, I got your sister. Okay. Cool. My mother, there was no dramatic big explosion ending, nothing like that. I just blocked her phone number, erased her on Facebook, and I just refused to speak to her anymore. She's a negative force in my life, and I won't have negativity in it. I'm doing too well. I'm too happy to let someone irrelevant to me take that away. Why give her that power?
Good. Actually, grinning was good. Look at him.
As far as idols go, of course, Beyonce. My mother. Talk about a strong black single woman who raised an 8-year-old by herself. That's saying something. And she got through all 26 years. Hopefully we'll be going on to 27, God willing, of raising me. And she's now confident enough to be like, you got this. And if you need help, you know where to find me. That's the relationship I have with my mom. There were days, way back when, I was homeless for 2 days. And that woman called me every single day to make sure. I was like, she offered to send me money. I was like, well, you can't send me money because I don't have any, I'm not staying anywhere. On the 72nd Street park bench for 2 days until my mom could gather up enough money to get me home. I was like, well, I'm gonna go back home, reboot. That's when I moved back home to choreograph Cats and did a production of Chicago and directed a production of For Colored Girls Who've Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. And I also did 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which was a fun show. And it was at that point when I was wrapping up these shows, I got a call from a company that I had worked with before asking me to come to their other location and do the same show that I did at their other location. So I packed up my stuff and I went to Florida. I did the show. My mom came to visit. God, it's like every time my mom visits, there's something going on at home. So she visited this time and she goes, we lost the house. My closing night party at Rent. She flies out, have a good time. She's like, we lost the house. So here I am at my closing party. Like, okay, what are we gonna do?
What's their next move? I finish out the contract. I go home. I pack up all my stuff. And we didn't have the house for that long. I thought this is where she was going to be. That was it. I painted the room because I always wanted a blue room. We went paint shopping. I bought paint, like specific blue paint. I painted my room. I was like, yes, I finally have a blue room. She comes to Florida and tells me we lost the house. I was like, is it ever gonna get easier for us? Just once I would like for something to work out. Get home, I pack, I get ready, at that point I look at her and I go, I'm going back to New York. And when I do, I'm not coming back. And she's like, I won't be able to help you get back this time. I was like, you don't have to worry about it, because I'm not coming back. And she loves telling the story too, because literally, I haven't been back except to visit. And that was over 3 or 4 years ago. Proud of myself.
We had a weird interaction, my father and I, over Christmas, and I was just like, this is just never, like, I just am so different than those people. I just said something to the effect of like, hey, I'm thinking about you. You know, I thanked him for something that he taught me when I was a little kid. And then instead of just being like, all right, yeah, thanks, Merry Christmas. Like, I remember that too, that was fun. He was just like, I taught you more than that. I taught you how to do this and that. And your bitch mother kept me away from you. And I'm just like, really, dude, we're back here again. 29 years old. Like, my mom didn't keep me away from you. You didn't pay child support. Like, I still got the court papers. So instead of saying all that, I was just like, okay, Merry Christmas. And then I just peaced. So I'm not super interested in he's got something going on with him. My father saw something like online before. And the few times we've communicated, I've been like, oh, I have to go to work. And he's like, do I want to know what that is? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm doing makeup. Or sometimes I'm like, yeah, I have a show. But then he doesn't really comment on it. I don't think honestly, I just don't even think that he has the wherewithal I just don't think he's even there to even know like that there's this huge drag, this huge drag world out there. It's just so far from what they're doing. But I email his girlfriend every now and again. I'm just like, hey, is he alive? She's like, yeah. I'm assuming that, I feel like they just sit in the house, sip their coffee. I mean, he's retired. He worked his ass off for like 40 years. I think it would be exciting to have a little drag queen son. There you go. So yeah, my dad, I'd like to have a conversation with him, but the reality is it's like, will anything good come of it? Will anything positive happen from it? And I don't know, will it be worth it, Like, will there ever be a real resolution? Sometimes it's hard for old people to admit what happened. I think sometimes, I hate to sound like so horrible when it comes to this, but sometimes they're just your parents. There's people that gave you life. No one ever hit me that hard. No one sexually abused me. It was just an okay childhood. Okay, I'm an adult now, so is he. So we just kind of separated, went apart, no biggie. Maybe see you in the next life. I'm sure they'll still be in that, It's just, it is what it is. But none of it's because of drag. I mean, that's the interesting thing. Like, I just grew up in extremely, just grew up in just kind of like a rough way. And they're like, a little poor. They just didn't really want to go anywhere. And not all of my family, but a lot of them. So I just had to make a decision like, all right, I got to go do this for me. And then, I think that sometimes that's intimidating. And I think sometimes that they don't know kind of how to handle me or if I'm you know, whatever. So it just makes it weird between us.
For a while, I mistook what work relationships and friendships were and what real friendships were. I mean, I know the definition, and I've known for a while what acquaintance and friend is, but for some reason that was so blurred in the community because you see these people every night on a daily basis. You say hello, you engage in conversation, but you don't know anything about them. You barely know their legal name. I was mistaking that for friends, and a lot of them, in my definition of friends, hurt me because they weren't really there. They weren't really friends, and they would go back behind my back and talk tons of gossip and tons of negativity behind my back. And I just realized very quickly that I have to kind of stand my ground and be by myself and be independent, and then I'll slowly accept people back into my little circle of my friends and friendships in life, because I didn't know who the good seeds were and who the bad seeds were. I slowly started to develop that more, but even now, when I left drag completely, I really got to see who my friends were and who my work friendships were, because there were these people who I've helped them or hired them, and they've made thousands and thousands of dollars a year doing shows that I've helped them get or that I've hired them for, and they engage in conversation, and it was like a friendship, or so I thought, and immediately when I moved, they're nowhere to be found. So I was thinking about every opportunity I could find to get out, and I couldn't figure it out. Couldn't think. I remember crying to my mom several times on the phone going, I just need you to tell me what to do. Because I was tired of myself doing everything and making every decision for myself. Since I was 18, I was always on my own, and I just needed someone, even if it wasn't her, I needed someone to tell me what direction to go in, because I was incredibly lost. It was discomforting, it was emotional, it was like scary, and I became more and more unhappy, and I started slowly dying inside. I put it out there. I just said, looking back on it now, I probably was a really not so cheery person behind closed doors to certain people, because they're like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I just hate this. I hate this. I hate this. And I really don't think it had to do with putting on the drag and doing the shows. It was what came with it. So I kept saying, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. And I kept spewing all this hatred and negativity and discomfort in what I did, that I think eventually, by speaking it, things fell into place. I remember a specific event where I went on a date with a guy. I had to open the next magazine and look at the whole 2-page map of New York and where the bars and the clubs are, and select which ones do not know me out of drag, so I can go and have privacy and not be outed as a drag queen before I could tell the person that I was a drag queen. And there was 2 on the island of Manhattan. There was 2, and that's when I realized this is getting too much. And then I would sign on to some of the sites to go and hook up, and there would always be some people who knew me. So when that started to happen, I realized that my privacy is now gone, or slowly going away, and I have to do something about it. I never brought up what I did for work, ever. Which is funny, because in Los Angeles, people don't care. They don't care at all. They're like, oh, you do drag? Cool. Or they'll date drag queens and it's fine. In New York, there's such a stigma. Maybe now with Drag Race being at its height, it's slowly dissipating and dissolving, but it was very, very tough. So I wouldn't even bring up in a conversation what the guy did for work, because then the next question would be like, what do you do for work? So I would say I'm a performer, or I'm in nightlife, and then eventually they'd ask questions later, and I'd say I'll tell you when the time comes. And they would start thinking in their head that, okay, I'm either an escort or a porn star or a go-go boy or a drag queen. But you didn't have a dating life because you're always working at night, and I would start my transitional phase of getting into Dallas at like 8:30, and that's when a dinner date would be. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that they a lot of the people that I know, or my friends and my acquaintances and my club friends, they take it to an extreme, and they live their life the same way, just without a wig, as a boy. I try to take this, as very two separate people, and really designate and differentiate the difference. But these other people were combining them, and that was, and that preventing them from finding a relationship. I can think of 3 people in all of the nightlife that I've worked with here that have a boyfriend, that are performers. I had a great time. I had to say, I wouldn't be where I am in LA if it wasn't for drag. I would never have met the people the connections that got me there. I would never have had some of my friends that that are my best friends now. I would never been able to travel, not the world, but I traveled abroad many times to perform. And, I would never have even probably been to London, or I would never been to overseas if it hadn't been for Dallas. And there's so many gifts I got from this. It's just, I had this love, not even hate anymore, but I did have a love-hate relationship with it. And I mean, I auditioned for Drag Race 4 times, and the third time, season 5, like the Alyssa Edwards season, that whole season, I didn't make it. I got top 20, and they called me, and they said that the top, there was 14 in the cast. One of them was an audience favorite, so there was 13 that they took. They said that 7 that wasn't taken, which was me. Like, they called me up on Memorial Day. I thought I got it, and they're like, no, you don't have it, but don't tell anyone you're auditioning for the following season, because most likely you're going to be on it, because you made top 7, the remaining 7, top 20. So I was so excited, blah, 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 and this is what I was relying on. And then they changed the casting season 6, and they didn't tell me. I was tired of giving the same answers 4 years in a row for these auditions, and so I just said what happened to me in the interim between 1 year and another year, because I thought they've known me by now. I mean, 4 years, they don't want to see the same thing. We had the same stuff, so I just did it my own way, and they changed the casting, and it kind of looked like I was half-assing it, or I wasn't listening to the questions, or following directions, and then they never called me.
The time has come to lip sync for your life. Good luck, and don't it up.
Well, this is our dining room with what's also our library. Ta-da. Yeah, we are trying to make our dining room kind of kooky and crazy, so we've been collecting, some bones and taxidermy and circus memorabilia. And then you come in here, and this is Keith's office. We kind of want to have a lot of like sexy, fun art and kind of vintage party materials. So Keith's folks, actually, these are actually old calendar pictures that Keith's mom had gotten for his dad, and they had them framed, but they're vintage, really cool little pinup girls. If I would have known you guys were coming, I would have cleaned up this room a little more. This is kind of my drag sewing room. Yeah, so this is where all the magic happens. I sew and create things for other people and make wigs and mind you, still decorating. Here's a penis picture my friend Maddelynn Hatter painted. You know Maddelynn Hatter? Oh, yeah. She painted that in high school, and she gave it to me, and I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to put it in my bathroom. Well, I lived in New York 9 years. Keith has lived there about 15, and we were gearing up for this 3-month tour, and we have 2 dogs, and we've just been dying for more space. So we went to Queens and checked out a couple apartments, and everything was still kind of like, it's really expensive, and the apartment was super small.
and we were just kind of sick of that. So we had dinner that night and said, why don't we just move to Michigan? And we both agreed on it. And a couple weeks before the tour started, we packed up all of our belongings and hopped up in a U-Haul. All four of us, Keith and I and Muriel and Charlie, our two little girls, all sat in the front seat. Muriel loves to throw up in the car, by the way. Not fun. And a good 13, 14-hour drive here, put everything up in a storage unit, and went on tour, which was awesome. And when we got back, we picked up the girls and we stayed at my parents' house for a couple weeks, and his folks for a week. Got a truck and found this place. Yeah. Pretty fancy. And you have to say people would pay to see that with someone standing where that outline is, right? Yep. Right? I want to get good enough to where Keith is standing here and I'm going to shoot 4 knives on each side of him, and then he's going to hold a board and I'm going to aim and get it right into the board. So hopefully that happens. I understand it, but it's also shocking at the same time. I'll be traveling, doing a gig somewhere, some regular city, and if I'm performing with a group of other drag queens, a good 70% of the drag queens will be super sweet, nice as all get out, be wanting to take pictures and just hang out. Doesn't even need taking pictures, but just chit chat about life, just be down to earth. And the other 30% will be standoffish. They won't even hardly talk to me. I will have to really force myself to not force myself, but really try and engage them in conversation because they don't want to have anything to do with me. They just don't want to talk to me. They're giving me dirty looks. I've heard that from other queens from Drag Race, where there's there's a lot of queens out there that'll be jealous and bitter that they didn't get on the past couple times they've tried to audition, and it's a jealousy thing, and it sucks because a fun thing for me when I travel and perform is getting to meet all the local queens and just making new friends. And it's hard for me to be in a dressing room where there's a couple queens in there that are giving me dirty looks, and they just resent me being there, and they think that I'm stealing their money, and not stealing their money, but being on Drag Race, you do make more money than a regular queen would at a regular show. I mean, I grew up doing doing shows for $30 a night, once a week. And you're not making any money that way, so I understand how hard it is. But in all reality, the clubs that hire us, it doesn't matter if you're a good or bad performer, they're bringing in a TV personality to bring in customers. That's why we make more money, not because we're better performers or we do things better than the locals do. It's because we're just bringing in people. Well, here, there's a huge difference than from living in New York to here. Here, there's a lot more space. There's family, close by. It's so much more relaxing. Things are it's like living in New York, everything was in a flip book, and it's really, really fast, And then living here, everything's slowed down, and you've got more time to do things, and there's more space and room, and it's open and relaxing. Everything's slower. So you have the time and the energy and space to work on all my millions of hobbies that I like to do. So we don't really go out to the bars a lot. We have a little tavern close by, dollar pints. It's really cheap and awesome. And they've got Keno. If you don't know what Keno is, it's like Michigan lottery, and it's a fun game. So it's just really relaxing, and I hate being stressed out, so this is a perfect place to live, and love making things. We got apple trees and pear trees and tons of farmland, and you go to the movies, and here's the big difference from living in New York and here. New York, it might seem like you have tons of friends, but when it comes time to actually hanging out with them, you never hang out with them because everyone's so busy and crazy and working, and there's no time to hang out, it feels like. And even if Jesse Vault, one of my closest friends from New York, we might see each other maybe once a month. Where here, everyone drives and everybody, things are such slower pace and everyone's got more time off that you actually get to hang out with the friends that you make, and whether it be barbecuing, you know, you don't do that in New York, you know, or just like playing cards or watching a movie or crafting, you know, you can actually do that with people here.
Ivy Winters.
I love this outfit. I'm a big Victor Victoria fan, so I think that this is great.
You make everything that you wear.
I do, yeah.
You're mind-blowingly talented.
Thank you.
And your Lady Bunny was so much fun.
If anything, your Lady Bunny was maybe a little too skinny and too pretty.
Oh, that's a read.
Ever since the show, I've noticed it's like a baby boom. It's like the baby boom, except with drag queens. There's thousands of more drag queens out there because you were put in the limelight. People are getting to know what we do and why we do it and why it's fun and how entertaining it is and how we can be in the spotlight and get attention. So a lot of people are starting to do drag, whether they're a performer or not, or a look queen, or they just like getting up in a costume and, you know, entertaining people.
Well, Drag Race is so important, and it's such an amazing phenomenon to me because it's something that like I said, I love, and to see it so well accepted and to see how many mainstream people and families watch it. Like I went to DragCon in LA this year. I actually organized a panel for the sisters to speak. There were mothers with their young daughters. Like it's really, really popular with straight women. Straight women love drag and they love Drag Race. And they love, because they love makeup and they love pretty things and they love girly things. And what's more girly and pretty than a bunch of drag queens? I mean, it's it's just fun. The thing, though, about the young girls today, and I will say, and this is something about Drag Race, too, is that now everybody wants to be on TV. And they think that you have to be on TV to make it big or be famous or do something important or that matters. And that's not true. We all know that's not true. RuPaul was never on TV.
It's fun. It's fun. And it's another way of people to see this crazy, campy, I mean, it's reality TV, and a lot of the stuff is hyped for emotional impact. And I'm sure they feed those bitches liquor on that set all day. That's any reality show I've ever done. They feed you with as much liquor as they possibly can, so you behave the worst that you possibly can. So in that sense, I'm sure that hasn't changed. Television is television. It's scummy. Television is scummy, but it's great, you know. And it makes it more. It's funny. Sometimes the accessibility makes it less special. That's the thing. It's not as special, you know. I don't want it to become. I'm fearful to be common. It'll be very, you know, yeah. But I think the show in itself is really great.
I auditioned one season, and when I realized that they wanted everything but your blood type, I said, "This is my last time doing this." I could be writing a song in a musical that I'm working on with the amount of time that I've been spending on this. And that's when my mom's voice pops into my head. You didn't come here to be a famous drag queen. While I know if I were to ever get onto RuPaul's Drag Race, yes, it would help me, you know, further my fame in spots that I wanted to work on as far as, like, you know, theater and this, that, and the other goes. But I want to work hard and say that I did it myself, not to be resting on somebody else's back or somebody else's name. I wanted to be William, not William, or, as you may know her, Jada from RuPaul's Drag Race. Because then it makes me feel like I didn't work hard for it. I know a lot of girls are going to be pissed about that, but
it's not a question of like thinking I'm too good for it or anything at all. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with I've just been doing this forever. And it's like what I feel or look ridiculous up there with all these like 22-year-olds. Although there's once in a while someone thrown in that's 40. But, you know, what I wish they would do is a season of the seasoned queen so that there could be, the, you know, performers who have been around for a long time, like me, Jackie Beat, Prodigy Merman, Hedda Lettuce, Shaquita, you know, that group, like, because we all couldn't really go on it now, but if they did something like that, I think all those performers would jump on the chance to go on. And who doesn't want to be a TV star?
Of course, I'm gonna audition. It'll happen eventually. Whether or not they want me, okay, whatever. I can still make a living and I can still be happy not being on that show. I think what the show has done is complete magic and revolutionary because it's opened the door for all of us. I wouldn't even be able to do circuit parties right now if it weren't for that show. I certainly probably wouldn't even have been able to work for, the major promoters and the major parties that I have in the city if it weren't for that show. Probably wouldn't even be a viable way to make money and live if it weren't for that show. That show has completely changed the game for everyone, entertainers and drag queens alike. Like, it's incredible what RuPaul has done. Like, absolutely incredible. It's changed history in my eyes because it's really forced straight society to really understand that what this is art, and we're not freaks, and we're allowed to be happy. Like, that show is amazing.
Please don't forget that there was RuPaul before that, who is globally known, and she really did pave the way. And I don't want anyone to forget that it's not just Drag Race, it was, RuPaul was doing it. It's great. It's a great avenue, but there's more to drag than just that competition, There's the artsy-fartsy parts of it, and there's more than just a bunch of girls singing auto-tune songs trying to hustle them on iTunes. You know what I'm saying? And we don't need to pigeonhole it just with drag. Our community has so many talented performers, and they can all intertwine. I need to see the first drag sitcom. I mean, we still haven't had like a male impersonating a woman on a sitcom, which I think is genius. Well, they had it a little bit on 30 Rock. Do you remember that? But how great would that be to have a sitcom that takes themselves seriously, or like a comedy, but where the main character is a drag queen? Is that genius?
Are you married?
I'm divorced at the moment, but if the right man comes along, I'll consider remarrying.
You have a hard time, though, on the semi-serious side, when I'm sure many people across the world think you're very unusual, that some of them would even call it weird. How do you react to that?
Well, I'm very happy in myself, so I don't let other people's reaction interfere with my own pleasure.
But all of us are affected, Doris, by other people's feelings. Come on, you know that. I mean, it's only human nature.
Oh, right. It's only when they find out the truth that it bothers me.
Well, what is the truth?
Oh, I'm not telling.
Okay. How does the gay community in San Francisco feel about you?
Well, I'm quite popular right now, I hope. I'm quite famous. I get my picture in the gay paper there pretty regularly. I was on the gay cable network when it was on the air last year. I had my own show there for a while. Yes, I think I'm quite popular. I mean, when you become more famous and more popular, you get fans and you get a few people who don't like you. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Okay. Well, Doris, we're out of time. It'd be fun to talk some more. You're not gonna fly back home that way, right?
No, I won't. I'm going to get on a plane.
Okay.
So get out the dollars, 5s, 10s, EBT, Wick. We'll take it all, honey. A coupon, I'm down. Wick glue.
I don't care if I'm rich or poor, single, married. Just as long as I'm happy, not hurting nobody, maybe doing something a little good for the world, making people laugh. I think that's enough. That's all you can hope for right now, you know what I'm saying?
Get your freak on? Do you want to do that? No. I should do the original thing, right? I was gonna do JoJo's new song. Say Love. It's slow, but it's like really what I'm feeling right now. There isn't another Maddelynn Hatter out there. There isn't. There have been plenty of girls that have tried, but there never was and there never will be, because I'm fucking nuts.
Who am I anyway? Am I my resume? Is this a picture of a person I don't know? What do they want from me? What should I try to be? So many faces
all around, and here we go. I need this job. Please God, I need this show. Valley combination. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Some people are gonna have about 5, 6, 7, 8 moments before I finally get my one. But when I do get my one, nobody's gonna be able to take it from me. And I guarantee that one. So I sit here and I go to auditions and I patiently wait. I don't get upset if I don't get it, because I go, okay, it's not meant to be yet. What will be, will be.
It's a community that accepts you. It doesn't matter who you are. I know one of the first bars I ever came to in the city was Boots and Saddles here, and the head drag queen there, Victoria Chase, came up and said, "Who are you? What's your name?" You know, gave me a hug and said, "Welcome." And that's something that you don't always get in New York City, and that's one of the great things about the drag community here.
Go to the drugstore, buy some makeup, go to Kmart, buy a dress and some cheap heels, and just walk through the middle of fucking Chattanooga, Tennessee, and say, "I am fabulous." And honey, and they'll do it. They'll go, "Yes, yes she is. Yes she is."
The thing that I really want young people to know is it is so gratifying that any little bit of yourself that you give out, any little 10% of your energy and your time and the love that you put out in the world comes back to you 100 times. It is the most gratifying thing you can do in the world.
I think the one thing in my life that I would, if I could go back and change, the only thing I would be I'd go back to high school where I was just like tortured, and I would just come out and be like, "I'm gay," because that would take the air out of the balloon.
Are you taking the rise out of women a bit?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, not at all. No, I don't have any trouble with any women's groups or anything. No, it's just strictly for comedy and to entertain people and to make them laugh, mainly.
Do you think you'd be such a famous entertainer if you didn't use this aspect of dressing up as this outrageous woman? No.
No.
And doesn't that make you feel a bit insecure that you need all the
not at all,
makeup?
because I created the character, so I mean, it is a very big part of me, you know. I think with any of them, like if Boy George was there, his makeup, I don't think he would be anything either. I mean, it's all gimmicks in show business, isn't it?
I always had hopes of being a big star. And then I look, as you get older, you aim a little lower. And I just say, well, yeah, you still might make an impression. Everybody wants to leave something behind them, some impression, some mark upon the world. And then you think, you left a mark on the world if you just get through it.
Are you staring at my tits? I can't tell. I have sunglasses on.